Hey y'all, happy Saturday. Depending on where you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Krishan Wright, the host of the Blaxit Global podcast and the founder of Blaxit Global. I'm so excited to be joining you on Saturday. It is a sunny and warm day in New Jersey. Hope you are all doing well. I would love it if you could let me know that you can see and hear me. That would be fantastic. But in the interim, while we warm up and get started, like I said, I'm Krishan Wright. I'm the founder of Blaxit Global, and Blaxit Global exists to empower and inspire members of the African diaspora to pursue a life abroad. So, if that is something that you're interested in, you're in the right place. Please like the video that you're watching. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. It helps other people find our content and grow our wonderful community. And hopefully, you are subscribed to the Blaxit Global podcast. I cannot believe that we are almost halfway through season 4. We have about 5 or 6 episodes remaining in this season, but I am so excited for all the things that have been out there that you've been responding to and all the things that are to come. So, Six Stringer One, you can see and hear me. Thank you so much for letting me know and also for being here. That is fantastic. So today we are talking about, other opportunities to move abroad. Obviously, those of us, myself included, are looking at different ways and methods and perfecting. Hopefully, you all are perfecting and working on your Blaxit plans. If you need additional support or want to be around community, you're invited to join our private community. It is off social media for a variety of reasons. Those of you who follow me already know why. But we have our Blaxit Global Passport community. So there we have workshops and everything from goal setting, financial education, how to do your Blaxit checklist, all of these great things. So hey, Twin Mommy, how you doing? Twin Mommy was in Portugal. Yes, awesome, awesome, awesome. So glad to see you all here. And yeah, so I don't want to go and like start on a downer, but we're all collectively feeling, those of us, especially in the United States, but really all around the world, we're all feeling the effects of rapid inflation. It's not feeling good in those wallets. But then specifically in the States, we have high rates of gun violence. Obviously, we're still dealing on a global level with the pandemic and the aftermath, the squeeze on the supply chain. Like everything feels like it's a struggle. Um, and then obviously, the rates of gun violence in the United States is getting out of hand. And so, for people who may have been feeling like, hey, they can hang in there, they're already like, okay, I just got to get out. So, Blaxit Global, we want to give you all the tools and the resources to help make that happen. So, many of you know I have who will be a rising senior and also a student that is in college. And I am pushing my kids for opportunities to seek opportunities abroad so they can join me or go to another place in the world. So I thought, and I have, all these wonderful people that I talk to all the day. Felicia Shelton reached out and she specializes in helping universities and students find pathways to study abroad. So I'm excited for her to join me today to help you, whether you're looking for opportunities for yourself or you have a student or a student that you love, right? It is all about helping the community grow. So, with that, I want to bring her on. Felicia, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can. Thank you so much.
Yay! Awesome. Well, happy Saturday.
Definitely. It's beautiful out here.
Oh, that is awesome. Felicia is in Virginia. I am in New Jersey. And like we said, it's a warm day when we have lots to talk about. So before we get into more of the subject matter, I wanted to talk about and introduce you to the community to talk about your unique story because you help people, help students find opportunities abroad, but you have your own backstory as well. So I'd love it if you could share.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you and everyone here in this stratosphere. My name is Felicia Shelton. I currently work as a university relations manager here in the US. I'm based in Virginia, so I have a remote position. My position is permanently remote, and I got that without even trying to get it. It just happens. But my backstory is I left the country. I am 53 years old now. I left the country at age 21 and I moved to Sweden. And while there, before going into a university to study, you have to be able to speak the language. So while this was my first plane ride, my first time out of the country, with all of that entails, I have to now enroll into there's this government program for all immigrants. So this was the first time I was an immigrant, and I had to learn the language. So I learned the language 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Yes. With other immigrants, I had people from Iraq, from Scotland, from Egypt in my classroom every single day. And then you take this test at the end of, I think it was 7 months of, 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. You take the test and then you hopefully pass the test. And then now you are able to enroll in any university in Sweden because that's where I was. And that was it. So that was the first time that I studied abroad, but it was only for the language to be able to enter into a university to study whatever I wanted to study, to major in whatever I wanted to study. And then 4 years later, we get back to the States, and now I enter college. So I entered college late in life, so-called late in life at 25, and I enrolled at the college here, Virginia Commonwealth University, and I was a French major. And I then, yeah, I was a French major. I was English major in the beginning, but I took my electives and I said, well, I'm just going to knock out French, my French electives or my foreign language electives in a semester. So I did very intense French. And then the professor noticed, she says, oh my God, you're very gifted with languages. I mean, I passed that class with flying colors. I love foreign languages. And it even shocked me as well. And so she said, I think if you really want to perfect your French, you need to change your major and you need to study abroad. So I said, oh, I'm not thinking that, okay, I've already studied abroad, but this is, as an American student to study abroad. And also at my age at that point. And she walked me to the study abroad office, didn't even know that there was a study abroad office or an international office, didn't know. And she made sure that I talked to the right people. And the next thing I know, I'm filling out applications, getting my passport, no, my passport was already good to go, but, doing my visa appointments. And the next thing you know, I'm on a flight to France to study for a year. So there you go. So
oh my goodness, Felicia, I'm like blown away. I wanna get back to the story, but there's so many things that you just put there. I'm like, okay, let's just rewind a little bit.
yeah.
So, like when you made that decision to pursue an opportunity in Sweden,
Mm.
like where did that come from? Was it, I don't know. I was having a chat, for example, yesterday with a member who's in Saudi Arabia, and her story was just like, oh, I watched this movie, and then this like opportunity came. So I'm just curious, like, where did that come from?
Well, there's a bit of a love story there.
Ooh, I like love stories.
Yeah, so I was in high school and then I was in honors English, and one day I just noticed somebody who looked a little strange, and I said, but he didn't say anything. So I was like, okay. And then one day we were all talking about movies, and then I get this tap on the shoulder, and it's this strange looking young man who says, hey, would you like to go to a movie with me? And I said, oh my God, he doesn't sound like, I said, where do you come from? He says, I come from Sweden. And I said, oh, wow. I didn't even know that there was a foreigner in our classroom.
Oh my
And that was my first boyfriend. And then we fell in love. And then he invited me, this is, years later, he invited me to meet his family and spend the summer in Sweden. And there, that's how I got to be in Sweden. I fell in love. We got married over that summer.
God.
And
Wow.
then I'm going back to Sweden to live and start a life. And yeah,
Wow.
so
That
that's
is remarkable because I mean, like the dedication, where you were saying 8 hours a day, you're with all
hours.
these
Yeah,
other
because you
different
have to assimilate. You have to, learn the language, and that's, we're going to talk about that as well. But I always knew that I was going to live abroad. I always
Mm,
knew, and that was because of my mother, who,
really?
yes, yes, all to her. And that's not, I'm not being a, cliche. Of course, everybody loves their mothers. Hopefully you do, but it's all from her exposing us to the richness of our own culture,
Mm,
and also how we are represented abroad. I knew about James Baldwin as a child. I knew about Maya Angelou as a little child. I didn't have to go to school to learn about these people. My mother taught me that. And but she
mhm.
also spoke to me. She always used little French names. She would call me these, really pretty names. And I said, as a child, I was like, what is that? What is that? She says, that's called French. And, because as a child, I'm thinking that the whole world speaks English,
Yeah.
because I had not, met anyone, in real time who speaks another language, who comes from another culture. Everything is American because this is where I was born and raised. But she fueled my love of French. She fueled my love of travel from
Mhm.
a very, very young age throughout my life. And so I always knew. I said, I just know. I just know. And I didn't know if had I not met who I met, I still would have gone abroad because
Mm, mhm.
my mom says, "Look, just keep your head in those books, and you can do whatever you want." And so at 21, I'm like, "I'm out of here," and so
Wow.
I left.
Wow. And so she gave you the wings to fly.
For
Oh my
sure.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Because
love that.
she wanted to do it. She wanted to do it, but she met my dad, fell in love, got married, and had children.
Mhm.
And there was no time to do that. You're raising children. There was no time at that time. But now we know that you can have children. You can, meet your significant others abroad and start a new life and raise children and have your children travel with you.
Yeah.
So, for anyone out there who has children, don't think that your children are going to be a hindrance. Now, it might take a little time
Mhm.
and you might have to do a little bit more research than, say, myself. I don't have children, but it is doable. And, you're going to do it right now, hopefully. Hopefully.
Yes, yes. It is doable because back in the day when my kids were younger, I wanted to do it then, circumstances didn't allow. And then, I think you get to a point in their age, once they're in their teens, definitely is a harder conversion, I found.
I've heard.
That said, I think for, depending on the child, because everybody's unique, but especially for, young kids all the way to, I think I would say, especially from talking to a lot of guests, early middle school
Mhm.
definitely seems to be like the sweet spot. But it gives you and your child an opportunity to, as you said, meet people from different cultures, get exposed to a more rounded and global perspective that isn't so US centric and US focused.
Yeah.
I think it just affords this ability to be to allow kids to be kids because not to get on my soapbox because I know I can but today's kids are like heads down into their devices, very little, when I go outside, it's very infrequent that I see kids, playing on the playground. And especially when you get to the older set, there's no, like when I was growing up, like community centers and other things like that. Like
Me
there's
too. Me too.
go to a mall to congregate. And when I go to different countries, I see the exact opposite. I don't see so much. I mean, everybody has a phone, but I don't see so much in the like head into the device and not looking people in the eye and things like that. And so I think for parents that are considering moving abroad and they aren't sure if their child will adapt, there are opportunities and pathways. And even the most recent episode of the Blaxit Global podcast, I spoke with Karen Ricks, who is world schooling her
Yeah.
son, who's now 12. And from they had him in Japan. She gave birth in Japan, and they've been to many countries since then. And he seems to be flourishing. Yeah, I had a guest who was on the show, and we connected. We were both living in New Jersey. She moved her son, Alex, to Italy, and he was about 11-ish at the time,
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
say. But ultimately, he adapted and he's thriving. And so, for anybody who's thinking, and, definitely, like I said, you have to know your student, but do the deep thought and get into connected with people who can, tell you their experiences
Yeah.
and nudge you along.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I know that there are, like I said, I don't have children, but I know that there are Facebook groups, for people who are, Blaxiting abroad. And then, they've made groups, because, there are moms and dads, et cetera, or single parents moving abroad. And, you create this community around that. And so you help each other, you give each other tips and, where to go for this, where to go for that. And, for me, I just sort of pass it on to people who are thinking about it, who I know who have children. So I'm like, hey, before you go off and you create this new life, take your kids with you. You might, take your kids with you. And I know that some people who have high school students, and they're maybe about to enter college, they want to have that American experience, that American college experience. They want to have the American campus experience. And that's great. But there are other ways to.
Because I don't want to pay that American tuition, let me tell you right now.
Well, exactly. And, there's a movie before I forget it. I don't know if you've seen it or maybe some of your viewers have seen it. It's called Where to Invade Next by Michael Moore. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
Please, I beg of everyone to see this movie. He has a sort of movie it's really a documentary. And he goes
Mm.
around to, I believe it's Italy, Estonia, Finland, and all these wonderful places. And he looks at how people live, the cost of living, what they get for all of the, the taxes that they pay, and all of the vacation that they pay. And and there were also American students, American college students,
Mm.
who were there and says, hey, I couldn't even afford community college in
Yeah.
my own hometown, but I think they were in Estonia or Albania. No, they were in Slovenia. Slovenia is getting very popular as well.
Really?
Oh yes, oh yes, I'm on it, I'm on it. Because
No, I know. I try to bring, y'all that are here, and definitely feel free, drop those
right,
questions in. We'll be taking questions.
yeah, I'm
And
on
so
it. So I'm
I
like, okay,
know I said I bring, the best of the best on here to
so
give.
thank you. Yeah, no, this is
I know you know.
yeah, yeah. It's just and these are. I don't think they interviewed anyone. Maybe there was a black student, but these were mostly white students. And they said, "Hey, my mom, single mom, and they were. I think some of them were from Middle America. And they says, hey, I can't afford. My mom, she can't afford community college, but hey, Slovenia said, come over here, and it's free."
Free.
And so guess where they are? So this, white male student, this young person said, hey, I need a free education because I can't afford it here in America. So they got on that plane and they enrolled in, I think it's Slovenia.
Mm.
and they are probably finished with a master's now.
Oh my gosh, that
And
is
some countries
so
will actually
amazing.
pay you to study. So,
Yeah.
get into it.
That is so fascinating because, and I like I said, it's like kind of two hats, right? Like for
Mm.
me, I have a child who's about to be a senior. She's looking at schools that are in the US. I have no objection other than tuition, but definitely kind of nudging like, hey, okay, go to school here. Maybe you should also do some study abroad
Mhm.
opportunities. And then, for example, when I was in Portugal on my scouting trip, in April, I met a couple from the US, and they have two children. The children are now, it's interesting, they were teens, but they were in college in Portugal.
Okay.
And it's so affordable that both parents are now in college. So the whole family is enrolled.
That's amazing. I would love to meet them.
I was just like, "What?" And I just met them. I was at a cafe.
Mhm.
It's so funny, like, the me that doesn't live in the US is
Did
just
you meet them at Sophia's place?
no, no, I actually, met them at Hernani's.
Okay. I didn't
Yep.
get to go there because I just got back from I was there late March, mid April in
Oh,
Portugal.
so we just missed each
We
other.
just missed each
Yes,
other.
we
Yeah.
just missed each other. But
Yeah.
look, we still found our way together.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. This is all right. That my thing is right now in my life I've lived and worked in Sweden, in France, in Seoul, South Korea, and most recently Beijing, China. I signed a 2-year contract in 2019. So August 2019, I moved to Beijing.
Oh, so you were in Beijing when the pandemic kicked off, really?
Probably. I was probably there, but it had not broken out into the bigger public. But
Okay.
I decided to, instead of going to Thailand or Japan, for
Mhm.
my vacation, because all teachers have like a vacation in January, like a month. So I said, well, I need to go home. Something was happening here back in the States. So I was allowed to leave a week earlier than everyone else. I got here back to the States, and a week later, that's when the pandemic happened. So I made it out of China about a week before
Oh
the
my
borders
god.
closed, like
Wow.
permanently closed. And so I got stuck here, and I'm still stuck here. But I pivoted into what I'm doing right now, which is international education. I've
Mhm.
gone to all of these countries. I've studied abroad in France. I was in Angers, which is about maybe an hour and a half south, I think, of Paris. So I went to Paris on the weekends. Like
Okay.
every weekend, almost every weekend, I was in Paris.
Oh, I love Paris. It's such a beautiful
It's amazing.
city. I'm
And
looking
then,
forward to
but
going
from
back.
from that year of studying, I then go back to VCU and I graduated, and then that catapulted me into a career in teaching English as a second language back in
Wow.
Paris. So study abroad could actually what it does, I think, to me, the best thing that it does is open it adds a new market for your child.
Mhm.
So they can study abroad for a semester, they can study abroad for a summer or a year, and then they come back, and you graduate. You will always graduate on time. Then after that, you could go back to that country where you studied abroad to begin your career. Now you don't have to go there and say, well, I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
But what study abroad does, the bigger picture of what it does, is that it opens a new market for your child, and that makes them, and if they wanted to come back to the States, it puts them here. It might even put them at a
Really?
higher, yes, it might even put them at a higher salary range because of that summer abroad or that semester or that year abroad.
Mhm.
So when I talk about study abroad, I talk about sort of the study and commerce of it as well. this is what it does for you. It opens up, of course, it opens up your mind. You begin to meet new people from other lands, but the marketability of it is
Hmm.
that it puts you above the rest, because when you come back to the States, you have to now compete.
Yeah.
So you have to think of this thing, what is going to make me stand out from, this person and that person in this market? Sometimes when I've applied to jobs, when I first, this is years ago, when I've applied to jobs, they see this, wait a minute, why were you in Sweden?
Yeah.
Why did you go to France and think
Hmm.
that was the beginning of the conversation.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
then we talked about the qualifications and things like
Mhm.
that. But I know for sure that they were like, okay, well, we need somebody because she knows how to, interact with people from
Mhm.
other countries, from other cultures. And we are looking for someone, and especially nowadays, everything is global,
Yes.
more global. Okay,
Yes.
if you have a company, it is global now. So now, perhaps in your future, you're going to have to hire people, maybe American people, to get the word out. Like as you grow, but you want people who have already been abroad, who've worked abroad, who've lived abroad, and who are used to speaking and interacting and collaborating with people from other cultures.
Hmm.
That's the name of the game now, and it's been the name of the game for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But since you and I are both of African descent, I my desire is to help in any way that I can to get Black students to take advantage of this opportunity. But
Yes.
a lot of people, especially Black parents and Black students, they don't even know
Yeah.
that you can study abroad. If you're enrolled in a US institution, community college or university, most of the time, I would say 98% of the time, if you are receiving financial aid, your financial aid will transfer with you. So I spent a year in France, going to Paris on the weekends, but of course, I'm also studying because look, it's called study abroad, not party abroad.
Ah, you know.
It's called study abroad, not party abroad. But all of the classes that I took, I made sure, me and my academic advisor, we made sure that all of those classes would transfer so that I graduate on time. It's not going to be a class.
Nice. Yeah.
And so when it was time for me to, be in that space, I'm like, oh, okay. And then when I returned, I had I could apply anywhere that I wanted to apply. Well,
Wow.
maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I don't know. I just want this is my own personal mission. While I'm in this space within this really really great organization, I want to help increase those numbers of
Mhm.
Black students to study abroad.
Yes.
It's my only goal.
To know. We need to know. This is the information we need to know. I think about my own experience when I was in college. Excuse me. My regret was that I didn't take advantage of those opportunities, but also I didn't see, people who were doing that. And again, the awareness piece.
Mm,
But it doesn't mean that, those pathways are shut. In certain countries, for example, you might not be able to get in on, a work visa, and some people like hit hurdles and things like that. It's like, hey, maybe take an opportunity for you or your student to study abroad. And the affordability factor is, and I want to talk about that a little bit more,
mhm,
um, is not as high in most cases as it is in the United States. And so I love the fact that you said that if you have a financial aid package, that package follows you there. And so it's really getting into the opportunity to demystify a lot of the hoops and hurdles. And then also, I would say, to challenge your own reservations about, is this the right opportunity? So I want to take a beat because I know we've been talking for a while and there's a lot of activity in the comments. So I want to make sure that we get to that as well. And like I said, for those of you who are watching, I'm so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. Definitely put any questions that you have for Felicia in the comments. And so we have Winnie. Hey, Winnie, happy that you're here. Winnie is a non-traditional student entering final semester. Yay! Want to attend graduate school in the fall 2023 abroad, majoring in psychology. Need help with tuition, and if anyone has a combined MS Psych degree program. That's a
Hmm.
question.
Let's see. Need help with tuition, and if anyone has a combined MS, for grad students.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, you said you're a non-traditional student entering your final semesters. All right, and you want to do grad. Basically, you want to do your grad degree abroad. It's funny you should say that. I'm doing this for. I manage 67 universities here in the Southeast.
Hmm.
And Friday, there is one particular. Well, there's a lot of universities who only send out. So these are direct programs, so that you're going to pay for
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah. So I do exchange. There are people like Howard University and things like this. People do exchange or they do direct.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking for programs for this particular university in psychology, but they are not grad.
Okay.
If you're looking for grad students, we don't deal with too many grad degrees, if at all. We just do exchange and direct. Um, I would look into direct enrolling abroad, which is usually cheaper. Now, I loved my 4 years at my university, graduation, all that good stuff. But if I had the opportunity to do it again, I would have direct enrolled myself in a French institution. And direct enroll means that, hey, I get my transcripts, I get whatever it is that I need, and then I would directly enroll myself into a French institution. Now, of course, you have to get your student visa and things like this, but it would have been a lot cheaper had I directly enrolled myself in a French institution than say, all right, I'm going to, spend, $40,000
Mm.
on my, undergrad degree. So I would advise, since you're a non-traditional student, look to those universities. I would say universities that are free or very, very low cost. Look to Germany. Look to Luxembourg, which is sort of like a city country. Luxembourg, um, Sweden. There was a time when you could enroll yourself in a Swedish university, and it was either zero or very low cost. I think now they do charge. They do charge foreign um, students tuition, but Germany, Luxembourg, France. These are universities that are very, very low cost, and you might, and in some instances, England as well. In England, I know that you can earn your undergrad in 3 years and do that extra year, and you have your master's.
Okay. Yeah,
So
those are great options. And I would also say that because you're looking at psychology and obviously, collectively as a society,
mhm.
we're all psychologically dealing with the aftermath of the pandemic and, all the things that led up to it and still are unfolding, that I foresee, mental health practitioners really being a field that's in demand. And so if you look at those countries that Felicia just shared, and also maybe looking at, and I'm not sure what countries that you're considering, but maybe looking at some of the countries that are actively recruiting people in with that particular skill and degree, that maybe that's another way for you to identify opportunities that would then, help you financially to get over to that country.
Yes, that is great advice, and especially with mental health right now, because like I said, no one saw this coming. No one saw the panini coming. I call it the panini. And,
Happening.
yeah, very hot panini coming, and having to readjust. I'm just now feeling, solid enough that I'm like, all right, this is a new plan. I had a 2-year plan going, in China. China is done. It was I spent a wonderful 7 months living and working in China, and then I had to do everything the rest of the time of the contract online. But
Mm-mm.
um, yeah, I mean, I just downloaded a list, and there are a list of master degrees abroad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can just Google that, master's degrees abroad, and maybe also put in your psychology, um, you know, subject, and there should be things that you can see that could be available to you. But right now, I'm about to send a little after we finish. I want to send a couple of little emails to some German coordinators because I want to learn more about certain programs that they have when it comes to recruiting students, American students. Even when I was a French teacher, when the stints that I did, between living in all these countries and then coming back, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's time to quote unquote settle down. I would teach French here at the local high
Oh,
school, and I
wow.
always had posters. I said, for those of you students who feel that you don't have the money to go to college, because I taught juniors and seniors. I said, hey, have you thought about possibly going abroad? And I had these posters, and they were always Germany, and it was always France. And I had these posters, and they're like, yeah, but I've never been abroad. And I'm like, I've told you like every other day how amazing it is to be there. I know it's scary and everything, but believe me, you're young, your mind is fresh, you will adapt, you will. That's what happens. If you have an adventurous spirit, and
Mhm.
you don't want to have student loans when you graduate,
Yeah, that
that's
alone should be, in my opinion, a strong motivator because, when I went to school, and I'm sure it probably was the same when you were, tuition was not, bordering six figures a year,
it
right?
was not.
And so, now fast forward all these years and looking at what the opportunity cost is, and these students coming out with, multiple six-figure debt in some cases. And if you're in the States, the expectation of the American dream, that 400 $500,000 starter home, and then you're gonna want a car because you got to go to work, and then you want all of these, you want to get married, oh, and so next thing you know, you're, borderline, inching toward $1 million in debt in most cases before you've even, done anything real in life. And then if this is all you know, this is also what you think the rest of the world is
That's right.
doing because, again, it's that very US centric knowledge base. You don't have an awareness of what other people do in other societies because you're getting, if you're, getting media, it's these little snippets of what's going on in another country around the world. And it's usually, a negative story. And
Mhm.
so, that whole fear print is there. To your point, like people are like, oh, well, I'm afraid to go. I don't know what this experience, or will there be other Black people there? And, all this stuff. There's, there's some, I guess, fear that is reasonable. But
Yes, some fear is reasonable,
yeah.
but I remember, as a French teacher, I said, hey, I need to do something. I talked to my principal, and she said, yeah, do a parents' night and talk
Mm,
about study abroad.
yeah.
So I was expecting maybe, 3 or 4. I had about 40 parents in there,
Wow.
black and brown and white. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so they said, all right, this sounds really great, but who's going to protect my child? If,
Mhm.
I remember a lot of questions being about fear. And
Yes.
that's a very valid point because, so much happens in this country
Yes.
all the time. This is not
Well,
like one off. This is all the time here. And that's another reason why people are flocking out of here. They're leaving here.
ooh, boy,
And
I know when the numbers and the data comes out, They are going to be
They're
shocked
going to
at
be very
the amount of
shocked.
people that are fleeing
They're
this
leaving. Yeah,
country.
people are leaving in droves. But I told them, I said, hey, even then, this was, some years ago, I said, look around you. Look around you. If your kid is 10 minutes late coming home, you're already in a panic.
Mm-hmm.
But believe me, I'm safer here, and your child will be safer abroad
Yeah.
than here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the truth. I love, I'm based in Virginia. I have a permanently remote, thank you, God, a permanently remote position as a university relations manager. So I don't have to worry about, commuting and going outside. But I was just in Portugal and I had to go and get, a rapid test before I got on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a 24/7, 24-hour pharmacy. So I just put my jeans on and I left. It was maybe about a quarter to 10 p.m. And halfway there, I said, I'm outside and it's nighttime. And I hadn't done that in years.
Yes, I did that too when I was there, and I questioned myself. I was like, "That's one of my rules," because most of the time I travel solo, and I'm like, "I don't go out at night by myself." But I went out at night when I was in Portugal, and I was like, "Wait a second, this is like I don't, and I never want to like overgeneralize that every place is safe or every
Exactly, exactly. Things happen all over the world, but
happen
I would
anywhere."
I would never, and there's a pharmacy not too far away from where my husband and I live. There's no way in the world
Yeah.
I would walk out of my door. And I live in a nice neighborhood. I still would not do it
Oh
because
yeah,
it's
I wouldn't.
not something that you, as a woman, as
Mm-mm.
just a human being,
Yeah.
that you would do in these American states.
No, 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 no,
Because
no, 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 no,
United
don't do
States,
it,
you just
don't do
don't do
it.
that. But here I was out, and in some streets, I was the only person walking on the street. It was nighttime, and by the time I got back, maybe it was around 10:30, a quarter to 11, and I sat. As soon as I got in the door, I said, "Oh my God, I haven't done that in forever."
Yeah, yeah,
And I said, "Yeah, it's time to move back to Europe. It's time to move.
yes.
It's time to move
I
back."
was just like, "Oh, sold." I went for a walk that night one time. I
Oh,
went,
yeah.
it was coming from an event and had to come through the park because I was staying at a flat on the other side of a park. And I walked through this whole, it was a big park at
Mm.
night, and I felt so safe. And it just, kind of solidified. But I definitely want to get back into
Yeah,
the
your
comments. So
children are safer abroad than they are here, and
yes,
we'll just leave it
yes,
at.
for sure. So Tanisha asked, is there a website, I guess, for the university program that you mentioned?
Yes, I work for an organization. It's a nonprofit. They've been around since, well, they've been on their own since 1997. They actually started the study abroad at Georgetown University back in the day. And now we have 350 programs in over 55 countries. So that website and that company, I work for a nonprofit called ISEP, which stands for International Student Exchange Program, and it's isep.org.
Okay,
So
awesome.
if
I'll
you,
put that in the description for this video.
yeah, so if you are currently enrolled at a university or community college or college or university, and if your community college or university is partnered with us, then you can look at our programs and you can pick and choose where you would like to go. Of course, there are requirements and make sure your grades are correct. And if this is advisable to you, I know that freshmen usually do not study abroad. Your universities do usually do not send freshmen abroad because that's your first year at university. But from sophomore on, you can study abroad. So that's the organization that I work with.
Oh, okay, awesome. And
Yes.
then I think we already addressed, but Terry Lynn asked, are the universities English speaking? That's a good question.
That's a great question. That's right. We just had a coffee hour. We do these things called coffee hours, and we just invited three amazing German universities, and they talked about, hey, the was it was the theme was English programs in Germany. And
Oh, wow.
that's right. So that's an excellent question. So you can go to Germany without, and I'm kind of looking at it as well because I'm like, do I want to earn a master's?
You have a flair for languages, so I'm not
I sure
surprised.
do. I sure do. Why not do German? I'm thinking about Portuguese because that's where we might be living in a couple of years. I don't know, but I'm very good with languages. But getting back to this person, there are English speaking programs in a lot of countries, but right now, coming to the forefront is Germany. Germany wants people to come to their country because I think they may be experiencing their society is aging,
Mm-hmm.
and so they want new people to come in to learn, to get those degrees, and to also stay to create a better economy. Germany is Germany. Germany is strong. Let's just get
Yes.
this very, very clear. Germany is doing very, very well for itself, but in order to continue to do well, they have to recruit new minds, new people, and they came on with us for that coffee hour to talk about the English programs that they have at their universities. And so, with that, if you don't currently speak German, you are required to, in addition to the program that you choose, you do have to study German during your time there, which makes
Mm.
perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
So, in addition to what you're learning, your major, etc., you will be enrolled in German classes while you're there. But
Wow.
I'm sure there are other countries that do it, but Germany is hot. It's hot right now. So
Yeah, we had Tamika and my coach T. So I interviewed her in the podcast. I think it was season 3, might have been. But she's Jamaican Canadian, and her love, actually, I think they're getting married next month. But he is in Germany, and she moved there during the pandemic, enrolled in classes. And so I think she was doing like 4 to 5 hours a day.
that's right.
But and she's like, I fell in love with Germany. I didn't think I was gonna fall in love with Germany. And that's where they are calling it home. So there's
And Germany is very low cost. I mean,
Mhm.
I was there a long, long time ago, just visiting, just vacationing. But I think in some instances you can receive a stipend,
Oh,
so
wow.
you get some money to study there at the same
Heck
time.
yeah. Pay,
Why
pay.
not? Why not?
I'm a firm believer in colleges that give stipends. That's how I got my master's. I got a full ride and a stipend. I was like, yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I don't know if they give them out anymore because it's been quite some
But
decades.
there are, excuse me,
No
there
worries.
are scholarships. There's the Gilman Scholarship. A part of my job also is to visit universities here in my region, of course, like LSU, Louisiana State University. I went there for 3 days, and they talked about the Gilman Scholarship, GILMAN. You can Google it as we're listening to us. But there are scholarships, so many scholarships that will help you study abroad to cover any cost. Of course, there's the amazing, excuse me, Fulbright scholarship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, did you study on a Fulbright?
No, I have a friend who actually she was a Fulbright scholar. I want to say she did it for her mass.
Hold on, I gotta do something. Just
Yeah, no worries.
okay, I'm still listening.
No, it's okay. Yeah, she did a Fulbright scholar, and I think she went back. I don't know if it was for her master's, but actually, she is an educator. She's a principal in New Jersey. So
Oh,
there's a lot of different opportunities for people, and I'm glad that oh, I got a little error message, but I'm glad that it's not. I want people to realize, whether you are pursuing an undergraduate degree, have a desire to do advanced study, or if you already have a degree or don't have a degree and you want to get another undergrad degree, or a certificate or whatever, I want you to understand that there are multiple pathways available for you to, maybe you want to go to a school in Italy and you want to get a degree in Italian. Maybe that's an opportunity for you to learn the language and get a degree. There's a lot of different ways and hacks, I guess, if you will,
That's
to
right.
do that, not only to further your education and potentially your career opportunities, but also for you, if you're having some stumbling blocks in figuring out, oh gosh, I don't know how long or how much I'll need, for my Blaxit, or it's feeling like it's going to be cost prohibitive, or even like, I talked about it on the podcast, I think in season 1, my number one has always been New Zealand, but I was getting at that in between age, you know, but someone said, "Oh, you can study and go in university." And it's like, oh, you don't even think, if you don't know, if you're not part of these conversations, to get, the wheels turning and to get, your questions answered.
That's right. I mean, there's that, and that could be another pathway for you. Like you said, that could be another pathway for you to Blaxit, by earning a degree abroad. Because in some instances, there's this young lady that I follow. I love her. She left, and I think she did her degree. I think her master's, and that gave her 2.5 years, uh, a visa.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was for England. And
Mhm.
that's how so she's there, she's studying, but she's also hustling to see, like, okay, I'm about to uh I'm about to earn this degree, I want to stay here. So while she's studying, she's also networking, so that when she graduates, she can roll in to working in that country. And at
Yes.
least that's what she did. So
Mhm.
there's all kinds of pathways you can do it on a student visa. And like you said, we're not talking about 18 to 21-year-olds. We were talking. I know. I just she was a part of a coffee hour. This is Black woman. She's married. She has a little boy. She is doing her master's. She's in her 40s. She's doing her master's in Scotland.
Oh my gosh, that's
I'm gonna get,
awesome.
yeah, I have her email. I'm gonna put you two in touch, because I think
Yeah, I would love to have a conversation. Oh my gosh, I'm so inspired when I hear these, stories. I remember when we had the Facebook group and there was a woman and she went to apply to one school, I think for her master's, and again during the pandemic and the borders were locked down,
Mhm.
opportunity fell through. She took a step back and then wound up picking a different country and pursuing a law degree. I think she wound up going to France, I want to say. Um, but, that's like when one door closes, it just means that there's another door waiting for you to try. So I think that I love this conversation and hearing that, whether it's for Scotland,
Yep.
whatever country you're considering, think about what educational and employment opportunities there are. I want to get back up into, I'm not sure if you're familiar. I know this was a question or a comment rather to Winnie, but hey, Sister Geeks. Hey, Sister Geek Speaks, the Erasmus Mundus International Master's Program. Oh, cool. I did not know about that. See, y'all are just a wealth of information in the comments. I love it.
Yeah, Erasmus is the study abroad. I mean, Erasmus. You just say this Erasmus in any
Okay.
corner, anywhere in Europe, everybody knows about Erasmus, because that's where those
Wow.
European students get to study in other European countries. So that's their study abroad. That's their big, big, big network. But I think I just learned about the fact that they do have masters maybe about 2 weeks ago. I was like, what? Oh, that's like,
Wow.
I knew about Erasmus, so thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah.
yeah, it's wonderful.
Oh wow. And then Sister Geek said, wow, you applied. That's awesome. Yay.
Hello, hello. That's what I'm
I
saying.
love stuff like that.
She is directly with that, with her applying to that, she's directly enrolling herself into that university. You know, if they say, hey, come on, she's bypassed. There's no middleman. She's saying that, okay,
Mm,
I want to go to school in Scotland or I want to go wherever, and she's directly enrolling herself there. And then she would
mhm.
have to go through, the visa process. And so she, whether that's an undergrad degree that she's working on, or perhaps it's a master's, that's going to be way cheaper than
Yeah.
doing it here.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
You
Woo.
know, I have a niece. She's 19, and I'm like, look, if she wants to be a dentist, she ever since,
Oh, okay.
she loves dentistry. She loves going to the dentist. She has beautiful teeth, and she said, I said, well, um, that's going to be very expensive.
Mhm.
Here's your Auntie Felicia, world traveler over here. um, I'm going to now start looking for programs for her because I don't want her to come out
Yeah.
with all the debt.
Especially
So,
in the medical field. Like
exactly.
regular tuition is one thing, but when you start getting into the specialties,
That's what I'm saying. So, hey,
woo,
maybe she's going to go to dentistry, dentistry school in Senegal. It could be maybe she wants to, Senegal or
right?
Zimbabwe. We don't know. I mean, we have,
Mhm.
with the organization that I work with, we have the University of Ghana. We are in Ghana. We are in Botswana. We are in South Africa, and then of course in Morocco. I love
Yeah.
Morocco. And so it doesn't have to be Europe. It can be anywhere. It could be New Zealand. It could be Australia. I mean, we're in Oceania, we're in Europe, we're in South America, and we are on the continent of Africa as well. But
Wow.
that's just us.
Yeah.
But you yourself can, start researching. I want, parents, Black parents who might not know about this, please research. Or if you feel, that you need some, a little bit more guidance, okay, where do I start?
Mhm.
I'll give you my email, and I can just sort of, push you in this direction or that direction. But the whole thing with me is I want, for those parents who might be afraid, please don't be afraid. Your
Mhm.
child is going to be safer abroad than they are here.
Yeah.
Plus, they are going to be more marketable. So hopefully, if they decide to come back to at the end of their study abroad, they have to come back. They can't just say, oh, okay, well, I like it here in Spain, and I'm just going to stay here. No, you have to go back because your visa expires. So you have to come back to the US. But let's say your son or daughter has caught the eye of a really great corporation or a local company, and they want to hire them. um, they have to come back, and then they have to apply for a work visa. But then that company in Spain or wherever will sponsor them.
Yes.
So now you're freshly, fresh graduate. Instead of trying to find a job here in the U.S., they already have a job, but it happens to be in Spain, or it happens to
Mhm.
be in Peru, or Brazil.
Mhm.
We're in Brazil as well. That's what I want people to think about. Yes, study abroad is great, but what is it going to do for you in the long run? And
Absolutely.
that's
You
the
have
point.
to think about the short term as well as the long term because it goes back to what you said before about, the world being more global and marketability. Whether you're coming back to the States, or a student decides they want to come back to the States and stands out in the job application, or a country that recognizes that, hey, I want to, position into the US market, but most of my workforce is of native of this land, and I need somebody who also has that awareness that of the American, whole dynamic. You're going to stand out because you have that experience of living in that country, maybe some familiarity with the language or proficiency. And so that's why I want people to start to think and expand the aperture. That's all we're trying to do. It's like we're giving you the information just to take you from where you are, open the aperture just a little bit, right? You'll start to do, talk to the Oracle, the Google Oracle, and it'll widen even more. and it'll follow the breadcrumbs to
Yeah,
where you want to be.
that's right. That's the point. I mean, why spend all of this money when you can go abroad, pick up a new language, hopefully, and
Yes.
and then, like you said, and it works both ways. Like you said, there could be a foreign company who wants to hire young, fresh graduates, here in America because, hey, we want to expand here in America. They're going to have to hire someone who knows the lay of the land, who knows, because, working in different countries, you have different work culture. What I do at the office, well, I don't work in an office anymore, but when I did, what we do in an American office, I would never do in a French office.
I've
No,
been hearing about French offices from my friend Marsha. I was just
yeah.
like, wow, I got
Yeah. And when
such
I
a
worked in French
awakening.
offices, I used to work at the OECD, the Organization for the Economic Cooperation and Development in France, in Paris. And what I did for them in that department, I know would never fly.
Wow. Oh
Yeah,
my
because certain things that you say, you don't say out loud. That's a lawsuit
God.
waiting to happen. Nothing, nothing salacious or anything like
Yeah.
that. But I'm like, oh, we would
Yeah,
never.
customs are different. Customs are
Customs are
different.
different.
And she was saying in her episode, I interviewed Marsha. We used to work together, and I interviewed her. I think episode 8 of season 1, and we were talking about the culture shock in a way, and she even had to recognize, as a manager, the way you provide feedback to a colleague in France is different than how you provide feedback in the US. And so she had to like adjust her style because she was saying that you have to be very direct. And, in the US, we kind of like, talk around it in a way. It's like, okay, we're going to give you the bad news or bad feedback. We're going to wrap it around with something good. And
Yes.
there to like, no, we need to know, like, what do I need to improve on? Like what, and so she realized like that was an opportunity for her to kind
Mhm.
of extend herself in a different way. And so, like you said, you only know these things by, getting in the trenches and in a little bit of, ways like, dropping off into the deep end and learning how to swim, right? But you'll get
Mhm.
there. You'll
Yeah,
definitely get there.
yeah.
Um, Comfort says, "Good afternoon. Hope more universities are advertising study abroad programs. I don't think my university really advertised a program. Thank you for your work in promoting study abroad."
Thank
Awesome.
you. And that's the thing. And so everyone who's here with us today, please locate your study abroad office, or it could be called education abroad office. It could be called an international global programs. Locate that office on your campus. And also, please talk to the foreign students that may be sitting in your classroom, because there was a process for that person to get here. There are foreigners on your campus. So there is a study abroad program at
Mm.
the university. Because just like, I want to promote American students to go abroad, I also am in contact with foreign students who are dying to go to come here. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, Virginia Tech is one of my universities.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Virginia Tech is Virginia Tech. And
Yeah.
okay, Virginia Tech is an amazing university. And so there are foreign engineer majors who, now I'm not student facing, I'm only student facing when I have to visit universities, when I go to study abroad fairs. Pay attention, and also that's another thing. Look to see when you go to that office, tell me, hey, when is the next study abroad fair? So that's when
Mm.
your third party companies, third party study abroad companies like mine, the people that I work for, it could be CIS. Look at CIS. Look at CIEE. That's another big third party study abroad provider. See when those study abroad fairs are, when they start on your campus, and get there ASAP. Get those flyers, and then you go into your academic advisor's office and said, hey, No one told me about this, but I went to a study abroad fair. I want to do this. Tell me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. You have to advocate for yourself. But if you don't know, like this person said, hey, they don't advertise study abroad on my campus. Please tell me what campus that is. Tell me what university that is, and I'll see if your university is one of our partners, and then we can talk about that. Because if they are one of our partners, I can talk to the coordinator and say, hey, if they're in my region, when are your study abroad? I know when I go to, because there are seasons, there's the
Mm-hmm.
fall season, I will be on the road. That's when we become road warriors. I will be on the road,
Wow.
flying to universities. I know I'm going to Tennessee. There are a couple of universities that I need to see in Tennessee. We just got Goucher and wonderful. We got Agnes Scott in Georgia. I'll be heading to Georgia as well. So there are seasons like fall semester, spring semester, where I'm going to be on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be on the road in a couple of months, and I'm just going to be there for a day. But we set up our tables, and we put out our flyers. We talk to those students. Hey, I get a lot of students who say, can I study abroad? I mean, I'm like, what do you mean? You're a student here, right? Says, yeah. And I said, you can study abroad. And they're like, for real? And I'm like, yes, for real.
Mm-hmm.
And because especially um, going back to, a lot of students don't know.
Yes, yes.
Locate.
Because
That's
it
what.
hasn't been talked about, like in their circle or in their family unit. And so that's why I think, like I said, this conversation, these types of conversations are so critical. The Blaxit Global platform and others like it that are out here, because collectively we're doing the work to get and raise awareness so that people can have these discussions about like, hey, the news says this, but this experience, I know someone in this country, or I heard about this, and then you're able to get that curiosity sparked, and that'll lead you to different opportunities.
That's the number one homework. I love giving people homework. That's for my days of being a teacher. Number one, locate the study abroad office or office or building on your campus. That's number one. Ooh, let's see.
Oh, yes. And so Health and Wealth says she's been looking for opportunities to she's taking care of her mother, but hasn't given up on her dreams. I figure we could apply for university scholarships and get this together to live our dreams. That's right. Don't like
At any age.
any age.
I studied. I told you I began university at 25. I did it because I'm like, okay, well, I studied in Sweden, but it took me that 8 months to learn the language in order for me to be even enrolled.
Mm-hmm.
But I started on my American university career at 25. There are people who enroll in college in their 50s, 60s,
Oh,
70s,
yeah.
and some people high school diplomas. Maybe your grandmother didn't get her. You can enroll at any time.
Yes, they had a woman on the news, I think it was a couple days ago, an older Black woman, and she had gotten her degree at 80. She completed her degree at 85 years old.
That's right.
There's no age limit on education because here's the deal. Every day you wake up, you're learning something new, whether you know it or not. You're doing something, oftentimes it's something that you never did before,
That's right.
and sometimes it's just like little, menial things like, oh, wow, the remote broke or whatever, you're trying to fix something. At one time I was trying to do something with my car and I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay anybody. I'll just look on a YouTube video,
YouTube,
right? YouTube
YouTube
University.
University.
And so we're constantly absorbing and acquiring information. And so it's just kind of, formalizing it. So don't think that, oh, I'm too old for this, or, of course, there are certain circumstances that may
Or
delay.
I don't have enough money for that, because that's another
Exactly.
thing. People think that study abroad is for those people.
Yeah.
Meaning, we're just going to be real.
Keep it real.
This is just for the white people or the white and wealthy people, that is not true. I studied abroad with
Mm,
due to my financial aid. I said, well, wait a minute. If you're telling me that my financial aid transfers over here, so I'm still a VCU student. This is where I graduate. I'm still a VCU student, but I chose to study in France for a year.
mm,
Then, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Then I'm out of here.
yeah.
I'm out of here. And there are some of my colleagues have studied. They were like, yeah, I did my sophomore year in Spain, and then I did my junior year in Brazil, and then I came home
Wow.
to graduate. And then they got a job through the consulate. That's something I did as well. But they did it. They got their first job in Japan teaching English, and 6 years later, they said, "Wow, okay, I guess it's time for me to go home." But it all started with that study abroad experience.
Yeah.
They did what they were supposed to do. They studied because you are there, you are a student, so you do have to pass your classes. This is not some scheme to get you to a work visa. This is no, this is real life. This is a student visa. You're going to have to take those classes, and you're going to have to pass those classes.
Mm,
But while you're there, you can meet people who are working in the field that you want to work in,
yeah.
network with those people. So when it's time to graduate, hey, do you have any openings or da 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 da? Or, nowadays you can just go on, Indeed, Monster.com. I don't know if Monster is still a thing. I don't know. I haven't looked on
Me
the.
either. The world has changed so much. I'm like,
I'm
I
like,
haven't even
yeah.
looked.
I know Indeed is still popular. I don't know about Monster.com. I don't even know if it still exists, but it's possible. The affordability, you can afford to study abroad. Now, like I said, depending on the cost of the program, it doesn't have to be a year. You can do an internship. I could do an internship right now with a major corporation, and I told you I'm 53 years old. You can do this, so please do not be discouraged about, can I afford it? Yes, you can.
Yes.
Um, Yes, and it allows you to be totally immersed in a new culture that
Hmm.
is priceless. It
Yeah.
makes you more marketable if you decide, that, what, I'm glad I had that experience, but I'm going to focus on my American career. But guess what? You just catapulted yourself way ahead of your counterparts who did not have that same experience. So it sets you apart. And in any market, you want to do things and you want to learn things that set you apart, because
Hmm.
that's what's going to get you the job.
Oh, yeah. And even if you're at that stage of life where, work is optional or you're retired and you just want to expand your knowledge base in a particular area, but you're like, oh, you know what? I don't want to spend the money, to go to pursue it in the United States. That's an opportunity for you to look at programs abroad. If you have a student that is, getting ready to go into college or already there, encourage them to study abroad. Heck, that's an opportunity for you to check out a different country. You
I'm glad you said that.
go visit your child.
That's right. I'm glad you said that because I have two sons now. I have two stepsons, right? I call them my sons.
Yes,
So
of
one of
course.
them, right? One of them just left. He has an opportunity to study in Spain. I think it's going to be for 10 weeks or something like this. So, but he decided, well, a week ahead of my classes. I've never been to Paris, so he just went to Paris, and now he's in the south of Spain to
Wow.
start his program. And guess where he is this weekend? He just texted us. He says, "Well, I'm going to go to Marrakesh for the weekend."
Oh my gosh,
He
that's
said, he
awesome.
says, he says, Felicia, didn't you say that you were in Morocco? And I said, yeah. You got any tips? And then, boo, 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 boo. So he's caught the bug.
Yes, and
He's
that's
caught
the
the bug.
thing, you could go from, these the ability to country hop, and just like go over the border, look at a different country. Here again, sometimes it's foreign to think about it in the United States because, we have, state to state, intrastate, domestic travel. Woo, is way more expensive. For me to fly from, here to Florida to see my mom is probably like $400 or $500 round trip. You can go from Portugal to Spain or, London for under $100. And so, like I said, once you have these conversations with different people, you're able to understand that the ability to migrate is way more affordable than you think.
Texted us. He said, because I gave him some tips on getting. He says, should I just try to get a taxi when I arrive in Marrakesh, or should I order a private taxi? I said private, because when you get off the plane, they're swindling you. They're trying to
Oh
swindle
yeah,
you.
I've been through that in different countries,
But he just,
and you gotta like know what to look for.
that's right. He just took a flight from the south of Spain to Morocco, which is very short, for €10.
What? Okay, now,
Yeah.
okay, wow. All
So
right,
this could be you. So you're going to be, and you're going to study at a university. You're going to
that's
study at a university.
wild.
But when you have those breaks, and you have a lot of breaks as a student
Yes.
in when you study abroad, you're going to take that €10 and you're going to be in a new country, relaxing, discovering whatever you want to do. He just texted us. He says, "Yeah, my ticket was €10."
Oh my gosh,
I think it was
that
on EasyJet. No,
is.
it wasn't EasyJet. It was Ryanair.
Oh yeah, okay. I've seen that when I was in Portugal. I saw a Ryanair, and the funny thing about that is like the euro is was 107. Like it's the lowest it's been in about 10 years. So it is so close on par, almost on par with the dollar.
Mm,
Woo!
yeah, it's not cute.
It's like, look, don't think like, oh, well, a euro and the eurozone, stronger than a dollar, and it's gonna be more expensive. It's like, they're almost equal. So when
Now,
she's saying a $10 ticket, 10 euro, we're talking about almost $10, right? And
that,
in these days, uh, Sister Geek said Ryanair is an adventure. So I feel like I
I've
haven't
never been.
traveled on it, but I'm pretty sure it's probably the spirit of Europe.
Yeah, yeah. I've never been on Ryanair, but it is inexpensive, and yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I'm
looking for
pretty
ten
sure
euros.
it's like
He's a
the
student.
spirit
He
of
doesn't have
Europe.
a lot of money, so he just took it.
Yeah, and I'm still traumatized from my one time being on Spirit Airlines.
I will never. Mm-mm. I'm too old. I'm too old for Spirit.
Oh man, it was never again, never again.
I can't even
Oh,
pay.
my brother's here. Hey, Damone.
Thank you.
Hey, good
And
to
like
see
you said, if you don't have children, think about the children that you love, that you do.
you. Yeah,
Talk about study abroad in schools. Get
yes.
them young, get their minds, middle school, high school, and even, and some of you might have children that are saying, well, you guys are talking about college, university, but can my child study abroad in high school? Most definitely.
Yeah, that was one thing they had I went to a Catholic school in the Bronx, and they had an international program. And I remember I think it was in the summer, or maybe it was, no, I think it was in the spring. Every year, the international club would go to a different country and take the students abroad. There was, and I wanted to do that then, but like I said, it was like circumstances. So that whole desire, and especially as I get to like my less than a year, well, not less than a year, less than a year and a half of my journey, I'm like, ooh, it's been a long time coming, but it is so worth it. It's
Yeah,
so worth it. It's so
that's
worth
right.
it.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so I want to give anyone any last chance questions that we did not. I think I got through everything that was in the comments, and also I'm just looking at my list. So let's start to close out because I know you said you had homework for everyone. You said
Number one,
identify.
that's right. Number one, locate that study abroad office or international programs office on your campus. Number two, talk to your teenager or your middle schooler. Begin to, if you have it, I told you, my mom exposed us to so many things very, very young, and it was normal for us to talk about things. I mean, like one of my mom's favorite people was Anwar Sadat. And if you don't know who that is, Google it. But anywho, we just looking at some of our amazing African American or Black American leaders, thought, movers and shakers in our own culture, and
Yes.
look at their journey abroad. I mean, my God, Josephine Baker, the country of France just honored her
Yes.
in a huge. I mean, that is a top honor. She is the only Black American woman
Hmm.
to receive that honor. I don't
In
know.
history, in all of
In history,
history.
in all of history. Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. It's true. In all of history,
Yeah.
Josephine Baker. I mean, these are people. I'm just naming these people because these are, everybody knows Josephine Baker, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou,
Yeah.
Langston Hughes.
Yes.
There's so many creative people who have gone abroad to expand their own horizons, to improve, to learn more about whatever it is that they were doing, writing. My favorite writer is James Baldwin.
Oh,
And as
wow.
I was growing up, I would see, little French phrases, and I said, "Oh, how wonderful would it be to learn what these mean, like off the top of my head,
Mhm.
so that I can also pepper my own language with French phrases, because it was seen as very chic, and it's French is still the language of diplomacy, other than of course, number one is English, but begin to expose your children to the richness of their own culture
Mhm.
all around the world. I mean, we need more Black diplomats, right? Because this world is very, very small now. But I want to see, personally, I want to see more young people get into diplomacy. There are people who don't look like us who are making major decisions that affect our daily lives, whether you know it or not. And whatever political affiliation you have, I want to be able to see people who look like you and me in positions of of policy, not only here in the US, but abroad as well. And that starts with being enrolled in a program, whether you know it or not. My mom always used to joke when she said, "When you leave this house, you not only represent yourself, you represent this family." I don't know.
Mhm.
Some of you may have gotten this,
Yep.
you know,
Sure did.
this little talk. You represent this family, but when you move abroad, whether it's moving abroad or studying abroad, when you leave these shores and you show up in whatever country, in whatever capacity, you are an ambassador.
Yes.
You represent not only American culture, you represent the culture, you know, African American culture, your Black culture, your Indigenous, Native American culture, etc., whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
So this gives you, not only it gives you a chance to learn from other people, it gives the other people, the so-called foreign people, because you are a foreigner in their land, it gives them a chance to learn from you, not the stuff that they see on CNN or Fox News. They get
Or
to
videos, hip hop videos.
hip hop. Please don't get me started.
I know. I feel the same. I already know. I feel the same way. I'm like,
Please don't get me started. Or Love and Hip Hop or Real
yeah.
Housewives of Atlanta, and the list goes on and on.
Yes.
It gives them an opportunity to say, hey, here's someone from our culture is everywhere in the world,
Mhm.
but sometimes it's not very positive.
Yes.
So when you leave these shores and you show up, even if you're on vacation, like maybe you're in Cancun or Jamaica or whatever, you're still representing America and also Black culture, whether you like it or not. Not to say, we're not talking about respectability politics here whatsoever, but it's the first time where you get to be American, not just a Black person, which is, I love being Black. I'm Black, but but it gives you the opportunity. It was, when I left these shores, I wasn't just, oh, the Black lady over there or the Black girl over there. I was the American. And,
Yes. Your
and
nationality
your
first.
nationality comes
Yeah.
first. And then it also um, uh, forces you to identify as an American.
Hmm.
And for some, that that will be the first time that you have ever thought of yourself as just an American.
Yes, and there's a privilege that comes whether we
Oh my
like it or not. There's a privilege that comes along with it, and regardless of, I think your whatever person's reason or reasons for choosing to make their Blaxit, there is some level of cachet that still comes along with
God.
being an American. And sometimes, when I really embrace it is when I see that long immigration line and passport control, and then there's like, oh, they're depending on the country,
Oh,
like the short line for the US. I'm like, okay, I feel real good today. So,
yeah, that blue book, this country, we have a lot of problems,
yeah,
and they've only, I don't know, I think we're more aware now more than ever in these
yeah.
past 2 years. I think everybody's going through trauma these past
Oh
2 years,
yeah,
right?
no doubt, no doubt.
But like you said, that it still holds weight around. When I speak French, people don't think I'm from America. They think I'm from Senegal because I don't sound, they said, you don't have that American accent when you speak. I said, well, I learned French in this city. And they said, okay, that's why. You went to Angers to learn French and things like this.
Wow.
But it's so great. People say, oh, are you from Senegal? Are you from Guadeloupe? I get Guadeloupe. I get
Wow.
Senegal. Are you Senegalese? I said, no, I'm American. And they're like, what? And they're
Wow.
so shocked. But it's really great to be able to say, wow, okay, I never thought about, why. Oh, okay, tell me what, as a Black American, what are some of the customs that you and your family
Mhm.
uphold and things like this? And I never thought about it until somebody asked me about it. And that
Yeah.
was only the conversation that those questions started when I left the US. So
Oh yeah.
it really, compels you to examine what you what you like about your country, what you think needs to be improved, but also it compels you to think about what you want your life to look like.
Mhm.
Because there are
Mhm.
people all over, like I think you said at the top of the hour that you said, everyone thinks that, oh my God, the world, outside of America is terrible, and you're going to get killed and kidnapped, and I want to say nobody's thinking about you like that. Nobody's trying to kidnap you.
No, they're not
People,
talking about us that, in that way. They're not trying to, granted, there are countries where you probably shouldn't go.
there are countries where you should not go, especially
But
now. But
there's good countries you should go. But look, walking around in these streets, there are a lot of bad things can happen here.
exactly,
But
exactly.
because, and that's a great way to kind of like bring it all together is, um, when you think about what's going on in the world, you think about what's going on in the United States, try to recognize that yes, it's getting scarier, it's getting harder to be here, but try not to translate, all of the bad things that are going on here
Mm,
into where you might be looking for opportunities for yourself or potentially for a student that you have or a student that you love, because there are safer countries out there. There are
oh man.
great opportunities out there that, like I said, we just kind of scratched the surface. And again, it goes back to what I said before is, giving you this information and just opening the aperture just a little bit. And then is the time for you to take that information to go to the oracle of Google, search some more, start to connect the dots. And also, as we start to close, how can people get in contact with you? Or,
Mm.
I know you gave the website, but if I think your IG, I want to give people the information to connect with you if they have any additional questions.
Yeah, you can either contact me via my work email, which is F, for Felicia, F Shelton at isep.org. You can contact me on my Instagram, which is in my travels 2020. I like to post things on, I'm gonna start posting a little bit more about my Portugal trip, my trip to Porto, Portugal. So Instagram, because I'm always on Instagram. I love Instagram or my work email, and just ask away. If your university is already partnered with us, I can get you in touch with a coordinator, and those are the people who can steer you in the right direction based on what your major is, based on what you want to do. But just shoot me an email. It could be about scholarships. How am I going to afford this, or I'm scared about my student going abroad. Please, give me some tips to be more supportive, because maybe your student's already ahead of you. They're like, Mom, there's this great program in New Zealand, and you're like, oh my God, New Zealand is on the other side of the world. But you want to support your young students, so I can give you some tips on how to support that student, to help them, be courageous and go for their dreams. And then you might, mom or dad, follow along with them.
Yes.
Your kid could get, do their Blaxit before you.
Right? Who knows? Who knows? I'm
Who
telling
knows?
you, like, it's like if I could just pick us all up.
Yes.
Yes, I would.
It's a process. I mean, and also, oh my God, I know you might be familiar with Our Rich Journey.
Yes,
Um,
yes, Amon and
I
Christina.
love,
Yes, I
love.
traded a couple messages with Amon when I was in Portugal.
They're amazing, and they're when I was in Seoul. This was 2007 when I went abroad to teach, to work and everything. There weren't that many people who looked like me who were just, working there. Now, there are so if you go to YouTube and, the Black student in Germany or Black student in whatever country,
Yeah.
you will have videos and videos. So I love that, because that was not the case back in 2007.
Wow.
But now there are a lot of African students.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I ran when I was in Beijing, China. We all do the head nod, when we see another you see another Black person like
Yes.
this. And then one day I said, no, I'm going to go over there and talk to them. And they were from, one was from, definitely, one was from Ghana, another one was from Nigeria.
Oh my God.
And they were studying, they were earning their degrees. You
Mhm.
go to any country now, and we're there.
Yeah.
Americans, please, if you've never heard this, heard about this, study abroad before, we are everywhere in the world. We work everywhere in the world. We
Yes.
can study, everywhere that is safe, of
Yeah.
course, in the world. So do not be intimidated. I just, being that young, I just left. I just bought a ticket and I left.
I love it. I love it.
I've been living and working abroad for over 30 years, and you can do it too. Right now, I'm based here in the US, but I'm working on, increasing those numbers, because right now it's about, I would say, about 6% of Black American students who study abroad, compared to our white counterparts, which is like 71.
Oh yeah. I'm like, when you said that 6%, I'm like, that's
Yeah,
low.
and for Hispanic students, I think it's a little bit more, maybe 8%.
Wow.
Not that much more. So whatever I can do, coming on platforms such as yours and getting the word out, so that you can begin to think about, hey, mama or daddy can study abroad as well. And maybe you as a family can go there. Or you can say, hey, I want you to go to college, but I can't afford it. But here's Germany. Here's a list of programs abroad that you can, you know, start your career with,
Mhm.
your academic career with. Go there and do it, and it is possible. Like I told
Yes.
you, if I
Yeah.
could do it over again, I would have done my 4 years. I would have done my undergrad elsewhere.
Oh yeah, like I said, I could think of either, and I saw health and wealth. I also went to Scanlon, so I see someone from my old alma mater. Yeah, so whether it was high school or college, if I could run the clock back, I would have played, that a bit. I
You
know I
can
would have
still
played
do
that
it. You
different.
can still do it. You can still
Yes,
do it.
and even I know Black Wonderlust said, "Are these opportunities open for non-traditional students?" Yes,
Oh,
yes,
definitely,
yes. So
definitely.
definitely, it is regardless of your age, definitely tap in. Felicia shared a lot of different resources. So if you are watching this live, definitely go back into the live chat and you can see I made a point to type some of those resources into the chat. If you're watching the replay, hey, definitely go to the live chat feed, or I will add some of them to the description of this video. But with that, I want to thank you so much for the wealth of information that you shared today, and also just the inspiration. I could see like the chat role has been, active the whole time with people asking questions, even answering questions amongst themselves. So I know that you have sparked and planted a lot of seeds and a lot of minds, for those who are joining us live and those who will watch the replay. Definitely share this information, share it, send it to somebody, like I said, that send it to a student that you love, send it to a parent, send it to someone who's thinking about moving abroad and is maybe on the fence, and maybe they've hit a hurdle and they're not sure what to do. This could be that pathway. So again, I just want to thank you. I want to remind everybody to keep listening to the Blaxit Global podcast. We have another episode coming out in 2 weeks, I think, or a week and a half. Definitely listen to the Blaxit Global podcast. If you're not already subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, get plugged into our community, join us in Blaxit Global Passport, get the support that you need so you can get from where you are to where you want to be.
That's right. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on your platform. This is a really great honor, and I love the work that you do. It is so important. And I study abroad, that's my thing. Living and working abroad, that's my thing. And if anybody is interested, please contact me, and I will do my best to point you in the right direction in regards to study abroad. So thank you so, so very much.
Thank you. Take care, y'all. Have a great one.